This is a box set of pocket-sized leather-bound Lord of the Rings books published by William Morrow Publishers on an unspecified year. It doesn't say anywhere in the books what year this set was actually published. They come in this nice little storage box, which is bound in that same soft bonded leather. At least I'm assuming it's bonded leather because the set was a mere $20. So let's take the books out and have a closer look at this storage box. So this is the box. As you can see, it has this nice angled design, so you can grab the books by the corner to pull them out, but the books are still protected while they're inside the box. On the front, we have J.R.R. Tolkien, and we have a nice deep stamp of his symbol. I'm not sure. It's not his signature, right? It's just his logo. Yeah. On the side, we have that same stamped in logo, and it is very deep. Feels quite nice. On the other side, we have that same deep stamp. And on the back, we actually have the names of the books in this set. So The Hobbit, and it's in this gold foiling. The Lord of the Rings in this gold foiling. And we have that same J.R.R. Tolkien logo stamped in here as well. So you could shelve these spine inwards and just have the box facing out, and you would be able to know what is inside. The bottom is completely plain, and the inside of the box is plain as well, just in this white paper. But this box will still protect the books nonetheless. And I do like how it is folded over the edge of the box, which makes it a bit more resilient. The box is not the most premium, but then again, it's not super thin. It's definitely thicker than those other box sets that you find in places like Barnes & Noble's, where the box is just made out of cardboard, which are usually very flimsy, and once the books are taken out, they end up flopping all over the place and can break. Overall, that's quite a nice storage box, especially for a $20 set of books. Now let's look at the books themselves. So here they are. They are in some very nice colors. First, we'll look at The Hobbit. So The Hobbit is bound in this red bonded leather, this very deep maroon, and it looks quite nice. The title, The Hobbit, is stamped in here, and once again, it's that deep stamp where you can really feel the depth. So that's not going to wear off ever. We have the J.R.R. Tolkien stamp, and then we have his name. On the spine, we just have The Hobbit stamped in here, and this down here is the publisher's logo, William Morrow, and the back cover is blank. Now, this isn't the thickest bonded leather. You can see the edges of the book through it, but I'm not really complaining because they still look quite nice, and they were very good value. The end papers are actually the map of the land in The Hobbit. Should I say the zoomed in area of Middle-earth where most of The Hobbit takes place. So that's pretty nice. And you can see that this book is actually an imprint of the HarperCollins edition. So William Morrow basically copied the HarperCollins edition with permission, and they shrunk it down and put it in one of these nice little pocketbooks. The HarperCollins edition is from 2007, but these books are definitely from a much later year than that. And they were printed in China. There are some illustrations in here, so we'll have a look at those. And of course, there's nothing new about the book's text itself, but it is definitely readable despite the book being so small. There's nothing wrong with it, and it's about what you'd expect for a pocket-sized edition. I'm surprised that they managed to put illustrations in here, and they do look pretty nice. And these are by well, I guess they don't want to say who they're by. The pages are definitely a thinner type of Bible paper. Not quite Bible paper, but very close. So they can rip easily, but this is the type of paper you would expect in a pocket edition, especially when you're trying to fit the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit in these few small books. There's another illustration, which looks very nice. There's another in landscape mode. I'm not going to take too long to look at the illustrations in each book, because most people have probably already seen them before. And the end papers at the back include another map that is different than at the front. This seems to be the full map, and I'm pretty sure that this is the map that they find inside the actual story itself, the map that the characters come across. I believe that this is a sewn binding, which is pretty surprising, and we have some glued in headbands there, and you can actually see the different signatures. So overall, this is a pretty good quality pocketbook. Now let's look at Lord of the Rings. So of course there are 3 books for Lord of the Rings. The Fellowship of the Ring is bound in this very nice golden yellow, the same as The Hobbit, with that deep stamped title, logo, and author's name. And it's also on the spine with the publisher's logo. Back cover is blank. Same binding. No maps on the end papers, which is a bit unfortunate. And the text is not nearly as good as in The Hobbit. It's much smaller because you need to shrink it down a lot more in order to fit it in the same size book. So if I pull out The Hobbit for a comparison, you can see that The Hobbit definitely has a much larger and less dense font size. But if you really need to read The Lord of the Rings in a pinch, this font size will still do you well. It doesn't look like the ink is mixed together anywhere in the books, so there's no parts that are actually completely illegible. And I don't think that there are illustrations in this book. Oh, I've been proven wrong. Here's one of them. And here's another. This is actually a map. This must be the part of the beginning part of their journey. And that's all for the Fellowship of the Ring. Now the Two Towers. It's in this nice burgundy brown, kind of a bourbon color. Exact same stylization as the other 2 books, so I'm not going to go over that. Same on the spine. Blank back. Same font size as the Lord of the Rings. And this one does actually include more maps, which is quite nice. So here is the west of Middle-earth. These 2 are different areas of Middle-earth. And they give you 2 more. So these maps basically cover all of Middle-earth that you need to see for the Lord of the Rings. Oh, and here is a full-size map that covers 2 pages showing Rohan, Gondor, and Mordor. Sorry for butchering Gondor. That's all for the Two Towers. Now let's look at The Return of the King. So it's bound in this kind of this dark green, a greenish gray. I would say it's kind of like what you would see in a camo or a military outfit. Same design as the other two on the front and the spine and the blank back. Same font size as the other 2 books. Still readable, not bad at all. Very small though. And then this book is a bit thicker than the others, you may have noticed, because it actually ends right here. So this is the actual bulk of the book. And then at the end, they were actually able to fit in all of the appendixes that explain a lot of different stuff, which is very nice. So they explain family heritage. They explain some of the different races. Here is the royal line of the dwarves of Erebor. I wasn't too sure what it was. And they have other similar stuff. They have a history with different years in Middle-earth. Family trees to show you where the different characters originated from. I'm not going to go through all of those. And they actually have a calendar, which is nice as well, if you need to look at that for any reason. They have one to help you with pronouncing the different names. Understanding the writing of the Tengwar. I'm not going to go through all the stuff in these appendices. And then there's an index at the very end. Tells you about the different songs, different verses, the poems included, and stuff like that. And then at the end, we get more maps, which is nice. And I believe that these are the same as the ones included in the Two Towers. So that's The Return of the King. And that concludes the Lord of the Rings part of this book set. And overall, I would say that this is quite a nice box set. The retail price, I believe, is $40. But on Amazon Prime Days and stuff like that, you can get these sets for the low price of about $20. So if you're looking to read the set, it might be a bit more difficult, but if you want a nice display set, then this will work as well. And I just realized that I put this in here in the wrong order. So I would say if you can get it at the retail price or lower, then this set is definitely worth it, and it's quite nice. Thank you very much.